Hello and welcome to PhDear Diary. My name is Andrew Salkeld and this is my video blog whilst I am undertaking a PhD at Leeds Beckett University. I believe we're around episode 9 right now, so this has been going on quite a while. And I'm kind of getting into the thick of it. So what I'm doing at present is I am writing up what's called the confirmation of registration, which is basically writing what I'm actually going to do, what is supporting that I'm going to do, and kind of putting the plan for the next 2, 3, 4 years in place now, so that everyone's kind of on board with the aims of it, what we're going to look at, how we're going to look at it, and kind of to show that I've put the effort in up front. And this is kind of the first part of the writing. And so I am writing a document. The guidance is between 3,000 and 6,000 words, which is absolutely fine. It's not actually that much when you get started. But you have to be kind of inclusive of everything you're going to do during this. And this is very much it's very akin to what goes on in industry when you write your kind of plans for a project. You write your project proposal, and it's largely the same. You write down why, how it's going to happen, what your sort of Gantt chart will look like, etc., and then do your kind of cost benefit analysis. So whilst there's not necessarily the cost benefit, there is kind of talking about the implications and sort of why this is important, why it should be done, why it should be doing it, and everything like that. So I'm used to writing a lot of these documents up, so I'm not daunted by it, but it is very much because now I am writing academically over writing kind of just common tongue in business language, etc., and you have to support what you're saying. Very much it takes just that little bit longer because you have to be like, okay, well, where has this been said before? Why has it been said before? But then also knowing what you're saying that's new, because that's the bit that is worthy of a PhD, because you're saying new things and creating new knowledge, etc. So that's kind of what I'm in the process of. And what I've done is I've broken it down into kind of manageable chunks where I say, right, I'm going to do the kind of background bit on each of the 6 components of my framework, and then some of the bits around it. So that's going to come to around 3,000, 4,000 words in total, then about 1,000 words on methodology, how it's going to work, and then maybe 500 to 1,000 words on kind of, and here's the sort of resources I need along the way to do it. And broadly, I'm kind of happy with it. I'm just chugging along. I believe I have until the 28th of May, but I want to kind of get the first draft done in the next couple of weeks so that then there's time to refine it and make sure it's right, so that then when it comes around, I'm well practiced, well rehearsed, and able to present very clearly on it. So that's kind of one of the aspects where I am. And as such, there hasn't been a huge amount of new things that have kind of gone on with the research. I've not really found anything new, apart from one thing. One thing really interested me today, or this week, which was I was looking up a concept called power distance. Now, this is one of the dimensions of culture that Hofstede talks about. And the way it's kind of described is that power distance is the kind of the level of acceptance of inequality within an organization, within a culture or an organization. And as I was thinking about it with regards to finance, because I was thinking, okay, well, the closer people are to finance, the more exposure they have to it, the more it is ingrained in them, and therefore the more impact or the greater strength finance will have over them. And similarly, the further away they are, the less detached they are, it will have a smaller impact. They'll feel kind of the effects through the organization, but not directly from finance as such. But it got me thinking about budgets. And this is something very common in almost every business out there. I haven't met a business yet that doesn't have a budget or a forecast or something like that along the way. And what budgets do is budgets are typically built from the ground up by the individual department heads that say, this is what we need, this is what we want to do, this is how much money it's going to cost, blah, blah, blah. And then they are kind of coordinated and aggregated through the finance team. But what budgets do, it's very subtle, but budgets almost encourage and support the inequality between teams within a business. So one part of the business will be afforded to recruit 2 or 3 or 4 more people this year, and another won't. And as people do their budgets and as these things get signed off and approved, we accept the inequalities of finance within a business. And as I was reading about power distance, I was like, this is budgeting. This is part of we accept it, or we accept this organizational financial inequality within our businesses. And it's fine. This is how business works. This is kind of the lifeblood and the understanding of what goes on and how to measure performance, etc. So it's not bad. It's just a very interesting kind of link that I stumbled upon when I was actually thinking about something completely different, but has kind of connected 2 disparate fields. And what I think I have to do when I talk about power distance is I need to talk about power distance in one aspect, which is kind of how people perceive the inequality with regards to finance in their business. But I also need to consider what I'm now referring to as financial proximity. So this is your how connected you are to the finance team and the financial workings of the business. So the more proximal you are, the greater impact it can and the more knowledge you have, you would expect it to have a greater impact upon you as an individual through the mechanisms of leadership structure, climate culture that I'm considering. And it was just one of those really small things that really, I think this is the bit that is fascinating. And it's the thing of doing this that I can do because I have these 2 backgrounds that are being brought together throughout. So because I understand finance, being an accountant, having worked in businesses of different sizes, having advised businesses of different sizes and seeing a lot of it, I'm able to bring that knowledge and combine it with my knowledge from a psychological perspective to actually make these links that wouldn't necessarily be made by pure accountants or pure finance people and pure psychologists, because they do not have the kind of the dual exposure. And this is something that I love because I am a career generalist. I like seeing multiple things and connecting them. And this is something I did when I've written various pieces of work and like even preparing a second book and everything like that, where I have started looking at how I can take big physics and science concepts and liken them to big kind of mental health and well-being concepts to help people understand 2 very complicated things in a fun and interesting way. And this is that same concept, but now brought into actually, I can now connect these 2 areas that no one has really connected before. And I can sit as the bridge between them, bringing the knowledge from both together. And that's something that I love. I love being that kind of nexus between two disparate fields and connecting them. So I've really enjoyed doing this. It's really helped me kind of figure out more things along the way that I have thoroughly kind of just enjoyed. Like, I've gone through ups and downs in this process, but now I actually feel like I'm making headway in the way I want to do. And when I finish the confirmation of registration, when I've got through that process, that's when I'll start on the actual, right, now I'm going to design my study. Now I'm going to publish it. Now I'm going to design the next 3 to 4 to 5 studies that then are going to get published, and all running either simultaneously, concurrently, and just connected. Because then, whilst all those are happening, which could last 4, 6 months, a year, who knows, I can be writing up the background as to why I'm doing it and getting the kind of first 30, 40,000 words of a PhD done whilst data collection is happening. Then I can write up those studies, each in 5 to 10,000 words, to kind of talk about them. And then I can come back with all the data, everything prepared, all the literature reviews, all the background information, everything all laid out. And then I can just conclude it after all the studies are finished and everything is kind of done. And that's kind of the plan. That's where I am. And I'm kind of happy with that process. But that means there's not a lot for me to do right now. There's not a huge amount for me to say to this. But that's why that is why this is going to vary depending on what I'm like each week. Some days it'll be busy, or sometimes there'll be a lot to say, and other times there won't be very much. And that's what this one is. I am just writing, I'm just cracking on, and I feel once I've got the confirmation of registration done, what I'm going to do then, and once I've gone through that process, then I'm going to update my website to kind of say, here's what I'm doing, here's how it's defined, here's the background document to show you. Then I'm going to start marketing it, and then I'm going to start using that platform to share it with more people. And that way I feel I'm going to be in a position to talk about it in a lot greater depth and with a lot more certainty. Because right now I am still very new at all this, and I'm figuring it out as I go along. But that's kind of where I am with the work. Social life, busy, seeing friends, continuing to kind of carry on with various other things. I've got a couple of business meetings coming up, which will be great. Love to see how my little business is getting along. And yeah, everything's kind of coming together, and I'm in a good place with it. For those that have been watching, this is my first week on a lower mirtazapine dose. I have felt some effects. I feel better in myself, but I have had some kind of ups and downs, which would make sense as my body is adjusting to a different level of a drug in it. But it can take many months for this to kind of sort itself out. And the reason I'm saying this is very much a check, so that I can look back and be like, okay, well, this was the bad week, this was the good week, this is how it happened. And maybe it can help inform other people in the future. So anyway, that's just a quick highlight of where I am. Try to keep it nice and narrow within 15 minutes. So thank you very much for listening, and I will be around next week sharing hopefully the same, and if not more. So thank you very much for watching, and I will speak to you soon.